Okay, I had to research this one. So a flower does not think of competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms.
Oh, I love that.
Me too.
Can you just tell us a little bit of why you like that quote? Hi, Danielle.
Hey, how are you?
I am good. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Stain Beauty Empire Media show. I'm so happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. It's really fun.
Yes, I'm really excited to, learn more about you. I know that we've already started speaking before this session, but I just want to tell you how excited I am to interview you and to get this started. For those who don't know, and for all of our viewers today, we have Danielle, owner of D.N.A Studios. And Danielle has been a makeup artist for some 11 years now. And from our research so far, I know that your love for makeup all started at Sephora. And now you are a traveling makeup artist out of Detroit, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Which is really exciting because this is going to be our first beauty professional from Detroit. So I'm so excited to even get to know like what the industry is like in Detroit and everything. I know a few people from Detroit, but I don't think I know much beauty professionals. So I'm really excited to get into this and to find out more about you.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump right into it, Danielle.
Perfect.
Tell us a little bit about what makes you unique as a makeup artist. What are the different styles and techniques that you specialize in?
Oh, sure. Well, I think I specialize in kind of timeless beauty. So I feel like I subscribe to like the French aesthetic, which is kind of like effortless, sort of simple looking. It's not overdone. It tends to be sort of I can't think of the word that I want to use, but like maybe minimalist in a lot of ways. I have always really preferred a softer touch when it comes to makeup. And I don't really ever want to look at photos of my work and notice anything heavy or really even notice that that person is necessarily wearing makeup, which sounds weird, I feel like, for a makeup artist to say, but I just want to look at a photo and think like, wow, that model looks the best that I've ever seen her look, you know? Most of the time for me, what this means is I'm working in commercial or photo shoots with like agency models, or sometimes even for women that want just soft glam, you know, but not like a full beat. And what's interesting, you know, I have been doing this for a long time, and my style has definitely evolved, I would say, but it's kind of always been that way, where it's a little bit softer than maybe some things that you see out there.
Okay.
And what's a bummer about that is that in terms of just like popularity or trend, especially if you're looking at it from like social media and, you know, that standpoint, I actually don't think that that type of makeup is actually that popular, you know? But it is lucrative.
Right, it is.
And, you know, it is probably the highest paying type of work that you can do, you know? So I don't have a huge following on social, and I'm okay with that because I don't really necessarily want to like have the fame. I just want to be able to do the work, you know? And that soft sort of minimalist makeup is absolutely what's required for the higher paying stuff, like, you know, commercial, TV, film. And even I find that the clients that are okay with or who don't bat an eye about the fee that I charge are the ones who are also kind of requesting that style of makeup anyways, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you touched on that because I think that people tend to, when they think of makeup, they tend to think of Instagram makeup. And technically, as you just said, I mean, the most professional jobs that you are going to get are going to look for makeup that is minimal.
Yeah.
So, and editorial, which is also kind of minimal sometimes too. So, I love that you touched on that. I want to learn a lot more about how you grew as a makeup artist, and business just in general, you know, how your business is expanding, and tell us about, you know, what inspired you to take the leap and go after establishing your own business and even just
Sure.
business as a makeup artist.
Yeah, so I think the funniest thing to me is that I sort of fell into makeup in general by accident. I had just moved back from Los Angeles. This was 11 years ago now. I was working in banking at the time and I was just completely miserable. I just hated it. And I happened to be a really good client at the Sephora that was local to where I live. And
Okay.
the manager like noticed and said, "Why don't you just work here?" And it ended up being the best decision I think that I've ever made in terms of like a
Wow.
career choice. It's obviously, you work in makeup. Makeup is so much fun. It's very um like client centric, it's very person to person, which is really great.
Right.
So I stayed at Sephora. I became like this is all my backstory, but I ended up working my way up to being a district trainer there. And what was really nice about that job is that it paid very well, so I was able to my husband and I were able to really like work super hard at becoming debt free, which probably is a weird thing to even bring up on this podcast, but that becoming debt free was a big help for us because I wanted, before I went out on my own, I wanted to just sort of have all that pressure of like, what are we going to do for, kind of off of my plate a little bit. I didn't want that hanging over me. And then as far as, what inspired me to start my own business, I think that for my entire life, I've been the kind of person that just wants to be in charge of myself and have complete control over my own time. It is super hard for me to stay motivated to like break my back to achieve someone else's dream. You know what I mean? It's just not my thing.
Right.
I don't really want to work 40 hours on anything every week, like I don't want to give all of my time to making money is kind of the way I look at it,
I'm with
So
you that one.
yeah. And so being debt free for us was a big part of me being able to do that. And it has given me a lot of freedom to kind of pick and choose what I want to work on. It means that I can say no to a job if I'm not interested in it, or I don't, if I'm not having a good time with the client or whatever it might be. And it also kind of lets me have my hands on a lot of different things. So um, that's kind of what inspired it. I love the artistry aspect of makeup artistry. I love being in charge of myself and having ultimate control of my own time.
I love that. That is awesome. We're all looking for freedom, but
Mhm.
also the freedom to do what we love.
Yeah.
So I love that you were able to be brave enough to say, this is what I don't want to do this. This is what I want to do. So during the process, Danielle, of you deciding, what career choice you wanted to make, was there a school that you went to for training, or do you still have sort of a mentor?
When I was in Los Angeles, I actually didn't know I was good at makeup at all. I was in banking. And there was a school that I eyeballed. Like I drove past it every day to get to work. It was called the Makeup Designery. And I actually did look into going, but it was just out of reach. It was expensive, and I was not in a position at that point to kind of do that. It was a long time ago. So that's where I wish I had gone.
Hmm.
But I was really lucky because all of my education is basically was at Sephora, and it was incredibly extensive. Like, I don't think that the amount of training and education that I got is the norm in the industry. I've worked with a few other brands, and I can say that Sephora is probably the most uh, well-rounded of all of them. And at the time that I was there too, it was highly educational focused. So
Okay.
I feel like I got like an art school level education in makeup artistry working at Sephora. And
Wow.
yeah, it was wonderful. And on the district training team that I was on, I actually and someone that you previously interviewed, Haley, we were on that team together, and the company would fly us into our headquarters twice a year for in-depth brand training, where brand founders and their pro artists and their formulators would actually come in and like basically download everything that they were teaching that year, that season to us, which was great. But one of the main ways that I learned, well, there were two. I went to a super extensive boot camp put on by Sephora's pro team in San Francisco back in, I think it was 2014 or 2015. It was the most like high pressure, stressful thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
So intense. But you know, I really feel like that changed me as an artist. It kind of taught me how to see a little bit. And it definitely changed the way that I approach artistry. So I'm so grateful for that. But you know, the second thing that was a really eye-opening education for me was my day-to-day work with clients. So there is nothing like the experience that you get working in a cosmetic, either at a counter or, you know, in a Sephora, for example. That is so many people, you know, like I was doing makeup on 5 to 8 faces a day, every single day as a job, you know? So I feel like that education is priceless. You know, I feel like a lot of artists, sometimes when you have to be self-taught, like through YouTube or whatever, that is fantastic. I'm so glad that something free like that exists,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's just not the same. The level of experience that you get from actually working on people is completely different, you know?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. There's just so much good information here. I have so many I have so many more questions for you. Like,
Lay
I
'em on me.
yeah, I mean, even with, you know, being in Los Angeles, was it intimidating for you to make that shift? Because I do, you know, I heard you say that you drove by or passed by the beauty school that
Mhm.
was that you had an opportunity there, but you were like, man, this is super expensive. And I could only imagine how expensive it
Mhm.
would be in LA.
Yeah.
Is that intimidating for you? I've heard so many stories about becoming a beauty professional in LA, and I just know it could be intimidating.
Yeah. You know,
How
I
did
think I was in a different point in my life at that point too. You know, I'm almost 40, so I'm 39 now. And I lived in LA in my early 20s, and I don't feel like I knew who I was as a person yet, or maybe I knew, but I wasn't like 100% confident in that, you know. LA was challenging for me in a lot of different ways, but I wasn't in that side of the industry yet, so I didn't even have like the exposure maybe to like feel intimidated by that. And I think honestly, it was just so expensive to live out there just to be, you know, that like school
right?
was like so beyond what I could afford at that point that it just it was just a dream. It was like nothing besides maybe a dream, something that I would really love to do, but just really didn't see in my future because it was out of reach. You know what I mean?
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for sharing that with
Of
us.
course, yeah.
That's definitely a gem for people who are probably, you know, in that space in their life or in that time in their life, or even, you know, living where
Mhm.
you were living at the time. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Of course.
It's a very interesting, inspiring journey that you have taken from what we know so far. And like many beauty experts, the journey has its highs and lows, and you've already attested to that a little bit through some of the things that you were saying. It's something that we constantly are working at. And even in your 11 years of being a beauty professional, being a makeup artist, what motivates you on a daily basis to keep pushing to expand your business and grow in your art?
Well, you know, I think what has pretty much always motivated me, even from being a new artist, was just the desire to see, you know, more beauty in the world, and to connect with my client. You know, like I view makeup as an art form, and just like all of the other types of arts out there, and even some of the other types make, there's just something really tangible about helping, you know, someone else look their best. You know what I mean? It's like drawing, making clothing, you know, things like that. Makeup artistry is something that I do with my hands. It's special. It's mine. You know. And just like any other fine art, my vision, my work is completely different than anyone else's. So every artist kind of brings something different to the table. We're all one of a kind, and I think having the fundamentals of why we put things certain places, or you know how we apply, is wonderful, and everyone should have that. But there's something so cool and just um exciting, I guess, about being able to take what you see and turn it into something that's still sort of yours on someone else's face. You know.
Absolutely. I understand what you're saying a whole lot because it's different. on
Mhm.
somebody else's skin tone. You know, sometimes when we get a client who shows us a picture and we're like, okay, so your eye shape is definitely not this eye shape, or,
Right.
you know, just certain different things, but this is not your skin tone. So this particular eyeshadow might not show up on you this way. But as makeup
Mhm.
artists, it's our job to find that eyeshadow that's going to show
Yeah.
up on them in the way it is in the picture, or to use the tones that would look right on their skin tone, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
yes, I think that it is an art, and you have to continue to grow in it, and I love how you are doing that.
Thank you.
It's so inspiring for other makeup artists. But we also want to learn about what are some goals that you have for the near future for, you know,
Oh,
even if it's just for yourself personally, but also for D.N.A Studios.
yeah. Well, I just actually at age 39 finished school to get my aesthetics license, which was really exciting.
Wow.
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When was that you completed the course?
This is summer. I just got it done. And
Wow.
to be honest, I had already kind of been training the information to my people at Sephora, my teams. So it wasn't new information, but I really need that license for sort of the next step in my business, which is I want to open my own suite and move more into the skincare and the services of that nature. Because I think, you know this, I'm sure, being an artist yourself. Um, I feel like women who are comfortable in their own skin and like what they see without makeup, it just takes it up a notch when they do put makeup on, and it comes from a different place. You know what I mean? It just feels even better as the person in charge of that. So that's kind of my next professional goal. And then, personally, I really miss training. So I feel like I was born to be a teacher. I loved working at Sephora. A lot of things about it were wonderful. I don't really miss like the retail aspect of it. I don't miss being in store at Christmas and stuff like that.
You
But
know
I
that I can attest
really,
to that too. So,
yeah, it's not always the best, but I
uh,
really miss the teacher student connection. And when you think about it, like the people that we remember from our past, like even from being little kids, I feel like the people that everyone always mentions are their teachers. That's just a different relationship that you have. I miss that connection. I miss like helping take someone from something, especially I love new artists are so much fun because they're just dipping their toe in and they're like finding all these cool things on YouTube or wherever. And it's teaching them the fundamentals is just a wonderful thing. So my hope, I have to find an avenue to mentor other artists in some way. I would love to see kind of more of the theory and like the actual art concepts that are behind makeup artistry. I don't feel like that's something that's covered a lot, like it doesn't exist a lot out there. I would love to see that kind of happen and figure out a way to get myself in that space. I don't think I'm quite there yet in terms of figuring out how, because I really want it to be in person and not just online.
right.
Um, but yeah, I think that would like personally that's something that I sort of I'm kind of hoping to expand into a little bit more too, is just figuring out a way to train the people coming up behind me.
Well, can I just say, and I'm sure all of our viewers and listeners agree that you are well overqualified for this.
Thank you for saying that.
And we are excited to hear and to see what you come up with. There are so many different avenues today
Yeah,
in
there are.
terms of directions that you can go with that, and so
Mhm.
many avenues to learn how to do it, even if it's just learning the fundamentals of how to do teaching in classes and then tailoring it to makeup artistry. There's just so many different things that you can do. And you have so much knowledge and experience based off of the different places that you have been to that I think a lot of people would be able to learn from and would appreciate.
I hope so.
So
Yeah, I gotta get it figured out.
you do. You absolutely do. You
Yeah.
absolutely do. And as you said, new makeup artists, that
Mhm.
can learn things about editorial, or that can learn things about, as we were talking about earlier, just minimalistic makeup,
Mhm.
those things are going to be essential forever.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that, Danielle, and I want to hear more. We want to hear more.
I'll keep you
We're gonna have to
posted.
do a part two to see how you're doing. Absolutely. We got to do a where you started and where you are.
That's right. I love it.
So we're excited to hear and see what you have in store. And like I said, there are going to be fellow beauty artists and young women watching and viewing and listening to this podcast and to this YouTube video. What advice would you give to someone who may be watching this and thinking of getting into the beauty industry themselves?
Yeah, I think, the industry is such a good one. I think you can learn how to be in this industry in all kinds of ways. As we've sort of already said, there's not like a single way to get there. I have probably two pieces of advice that I think really served me. And the first one is you are not allowed to call yourself a makeup artist unless you can work on more than your own skin tone. So, I feel like it's 2022. There's no excuse to like showing up somewhere and not being prepared for whomever is sitting in your chair. It's disrespectful to basically call yourself a professional and not have that under your belt for a skill set. So that's the main one. And then my second piece of advice is to have your financial house in order, which again probably seems weird to talk about from a makeup standpoint, but I feel like so much of us or so many of us are starting off our professional lives in a pretty significant amount of debt, whether that was from college or just, bad decisions or whatever. And I just feel like debt completely changes how you show up in the world because it requires you to make choices to pay your bills, right? Instead of making choices because you really want to do something or because it sets your soul on fire creatively, that energy is completely different and feels completely different when you're working, So, in my shoes, that meant that for 10 years, I worked for somebody else, building someone else's dream, so that I could, make enough money, be paid well, and be paid basically to learn my craft. And also if you work at Sephora, they put a lot of things in your kit for you because you get, excuse me, you get gratis there,
Right.
And while I didn't always love everything about working in basically glorified retail, doing that and really setting my future up in that way has made it so that now I'm 39 and I am in a position where I can, set whatever rate I want, and it's completely fine if that's not for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, my perfect client always finds me, and they're generally not somebody who's a coupon shopper. They're not asking for discounts. They're happy to pay what I'm asking for. And so it means that I have to stress less about how many clients I'm finding. There is so much money to be made in the beauty industry, so much, like a lot, But if you don't learn how to be in charge of your money, it honestly doesn't matter how much you make because you always feel like it's in charge of you. So that is if someone listening to this takes nothing else from what I'm saying, figure out how to manage your money. And if you need help with it, I can help. We've been there, But it really does change, I feel like, the entire trajectory of how you're able to show up as a professional in this industry, in this business.
Wow. So you hear that, Stain Babes. Be in control financially, and I love everything how candid and how real you were about Sephora because, most of us as makeup artists, we've been there and, we've worked for omni retail and we kind of understand how it is and how dragging it can be sometimes. And the fact that sometimes we just have to get through it and fight through it to get where we want to be.
Yep.
But if you don't have to do certain things and you can financially build up yourself to do it the best way possible, then by all means, do it that way, because although we're happy for our experiences, some of us might not have wanted to experience certain things.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And there are definitely things that I look back and I'm like, yeah, I could have probably done without that,
Exactly. A lot of time and resources wasted, but we made it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Made it through. Were you at Sephora at one point too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was at Sephora. I'm still at Ulta Beauty now too.
Are you?
Yes. And I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's good. I freelanced for them a little bit last year over Christmas. I don't know why I went in back at Christmas time, but I just couldn't help myself apparently. And it's another a good spot. I feel like I was so super lucky because I started in beauty in 2011. And I feel like the industry just had this huge like I can't even think of what that word is. I'm not in math, I'm in beauty, but whatever that graph is that like jumps super super high, the industry kind of went that way basically from 11 to 16, and Sephora especially was at that point so education focused that it felt so fun to go to work and learn, you know. I do think that really it seems like since about 2018, 2019, a little bit before the pandemic, that had started to sort of change a little bit, you know, like I think just with the additional competition and having multiple retailers in the space and things like that, it started to change. But yeah. Yeah.
Well, we do have one segment left, and it's a quick rapid segment since we're
Mm-hmm.
running out of time, but we're going to do it very quickly. We're going to get it done. It's called No Shade, All Shine.
Okay.
So let's get started. Are you ready to
I'm
play
ready.
No Shade, All Shine? I was gonna say all shade, no shine, but we don't want no shade over here, okay? We're gonna keep it real. So what's the one cosmetic product that you can't leave the house without?
Well, there's two, so I can't do one. Sorry. The Elia skin tint because it's got
Yes,
SPF.
I
Love
love
that
it.
stuff. And then something for brows. I'm not super picky. I have a few favorites, but like just I have no eyebrows naturally. So I gotta have something for eyebrows.
Yes, those are two essentials, and I do love Ilia.
Mm-hmm.
What is one makeup product? This is new. This is a new question, Stain Babes. What is one makeup product that you think is overrated or overhyped?
This will not be popular. I think contour. I would get rid of contour in a heartbeat, and I think it's often over applied, and a lot of the time unnecessary unless you have light coming at you from right ahead, you know, right in front of your
Right.
face.
Right. Okay. So a technique. That's a makeup technique that you would take out. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Mhm.
Very interesting. Because some people would never do
Oh,
it
I
that
know.
way. Okay. What's one dream celebrity that you would love to work on or with?
I feel like this is going to be another weird answer. I would love to work with the director, Sofia Coppola, but not because I want to work on her, but because if I was working with her, I'd be working on one of her movies.
Hey, listen, we all have our dreams and we all have our goals and
Yep.
they're specific to us. So yeah,
Mhm.
why not? Why wouldn't you want to work on set, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
One place in the world you would love to travel to for business.
I feel like I'm always happy to go back to Europe. So, Paris, maybe Milan for like a fashion week or something like
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh
Mhm.
yeah. Isn't that all of our goals or all of
Mhm.
our dreams to work New York Fashion Week or something like that? But then at
Yep.
the same time, there are a lot of different opinions about New York Fashion Week. So we won't,
Mhm.
I mean, I won't go there, but I think Europe would probably be a better
Yep.
choice.
Yep.
What beauty service do you get done that is like therapy for you?
Regular facials.
Okay, regular
Mhm.
facials. Nice. Love that.
Mhm.
Would you rather treat yourself to a new pair of shoes or a new bag?
Shoes, 100%.
So you're a shoe girl.
I'm a shoe girl. Yeah.
Okay, so heels or sneakers?
Oh, I don't know. Probably, I don't know. I don't really like to wear high heels anymore because I feel like I'm getting
Okay,
old.
so you're like a sneaker girl. Okay.
I just like something, it doesn't necessarily
Ah,
have to be a sneaker, but just something flat or
flat.
flat-ish, you know?
Okay. Nice, nice.
Yeah,
There are some very, very cute flats out there.
there are.
So here's our last question on the deeper side.
Hmm.
What's one quote that you'd like to share with our stain babes to remind them of how beautiful they are?
Okay, I had to research this one. So a flower does not think of competing with the flower next to it, it just blooms.
Oh, I love that.
Me too.
Can you just tell us a little bit of why you like that quote?
You know, I feel like it just sort of speaks to something. I feel like so much of what ruins things for people is comparing it to something else, whether that's, what you look like, whether that's the work you're doing, whether that's, wherever you're at in your career, whatever it might be. I think that comparison just steals any joy that you might be getting out of that spot. I appreciate when people can appreciate where they're at and what they have. And I want to live in a world where people don't feel like they have to compete, where they can just sort of be who they are, doing what they do, and feel happy about that.
Thank you so much, Danielle. So we've heard it from Danielle of D.N.A Studios. Appreciate where you are and what you have, Snake Babes. That is very, very important. I love that. I love that we're closing out with that too, because it's so important to not compare yourselves to other, even just makeup artists or other beauty professionals. You're at a different place. You're at a different spot in your journey, and you need to appreciate that and be thankful for it every day. Some people are going to blow up in 2 years, or it might have taken you 5. Like, you can't compare that. It's your journey and you need to own that. And I love that you said that, Danielle. Thank you so much, because that is very, very encouraging to all of us, no matter how many years we've been in this industry. It was so nice talking to you today.
Oh, it's great talking to you too.
So many gems. And I hope that as you have encouraged us, we have been able to encourage you to keep going, because you're such an amazing artist. And even looking at your profile, we see all of the work that you're doing. And it's great. It's amazing. It pushes us. It helps us to see that it's possible. So thank you for your service for almost, for going over 11 years. I'm sure it's been tough. We thank you. We want to see more. And we want a part 2. We want a part 2.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll get it on the book. Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.